Welcome back to another video. So this is the start of a new week of training. I always like to kick off the weeks with a leg day. I just figure can't get any worse from there, right? Um, and today is actually a stability training day. So I'm going to kind of use this voiceover as an opportunity to go over kind of the why, the how, frequency, kind of how I like to approach stability training. And if you find any pieces of that interesting, try it out, see what you like. So to start, you'll notice this isn't really stability training. This is a hack squat. Um, that is entirely intentional. I don't take stability training days as an entire workout, and frankly, I don't think you should have to. There's a lot of cool stability stuff out there on social media. I've been pulled into the like ATG world in the past, and there's all these like interesting bars, the tsunami bars, and yada yada yada, and that's all great. But it's one of those things where you don't need an entire workout. Stability work is meant to complement your other lifts. It's not something you really have to push super hard intensity wise. It's just something that you need to get some volume in on in order to get your body to realize, hey, we are doing things that are stressing out these things. We need to help. We need to adapt in order to meet those demands. Um, and it really doesn't take very much because stability is one of those things that people already don't train very often. So all you really have to do, at least to start with, is the bare minimum because the amount of change that you're going to see going from nothing to the bare minimum is a lot more than you might expect. So again, you'll notice these first couple exercises are pretty standard. I started with my hack squats, now I'm on to my leg curls. But after this is when I get a little bit more specific into the stability training aspect. So to start, what do I do? So for a leg day, I'm looking at my specific weaknesses. So for me, my left knee, I've had numerous injuries on my left knee. It's actually part of the reason I got into lifting in the first place. When I was in high school, I dislocated my kneecap, which resulted in a whole fractured patella, partial tear of the MCL, LCL, torn meniscus, lost some cartilage. Not pretty. And I've re-injured it several times since then. So that is one of those things that luckily with powerlifting being such a static sport really hasn't impacted it very much. However, I'm starting to notice the stronger I get and the heavier I load, especially on the deadlift, the more my left leg starts to kind of show its weaknesses. So you can kind of see here, especially as I get to the later reps of this single leg press, but my left leg shakes a lot. So it's essentially um, my brain and my muscles disagreeing. My muscles are telling the brain, wait, if we go into full extension, we're going to get hurt. And my brain's going, well, hey, we're strong enough. We can handle this. Just activate. So it's kind of going back and forth. Um, with that being said, it's one of those things that I need to put a little bit extra effort into strengthening that knee. But also, borderline more importantly, I have to kind of reform the motor unit pathways, the neurological aspect of the movement, in order to get the muscles to stop freaking out and to get the brain to, get the muscle to do what it wants. So I essentially have to teach my leg how to straighten itself under a load because it's scared to do that. So in order to do that, again, single leg extension or leg press. Leg extension is what I did last week, um, and then to kind of work on strengthening both adductors and then just kind of all the musculature around the knee, the structural stuff around there. Copenhagen's one of my favorites. This is one of those movements. Hip flexors are just one of those things that people complain about them all the time. My hip flexors are tight. I've strained a hip flexor before. It impacts the squat, and it's one of those things that I like to just throw in my training, um, just as a means of keeping them useful. Um, and not neglected. I found that's had a pretty positive impact on just my ability to not strain stuff. And that's kind of a big part behind the stability stuff is you're not gonna really be able to treat injuries this way. You're This is a little bit more preventative. If you want to be in this sort of sport for kind of the long haul, you got to take steps to ensure that. And these are the sort of things that'll kind of help get you there. And then as far as frequency goes, so this is something that I've seen um, some people kind of struggle with, and that's myself included. It's kind of easy to go real gung ho with this stuff because you're like, oh, I have a weakness, I want to attack it. You just have to be careful that you're not doing so much to the point that you are just making weaker what is already weak. If you slam major weak links too hard right off the bat, your body's not going to be able to adapt quick enough. You kind of have to build up to it. So I found it really effective to kind of just stagger it almost. So I do stability work pretty much every week, but I stagger what sort of work I do, and I keep it relatively minimal. But that's kind of my basic approach to stability training. Hopefully, this gave you guys some good insight, and I'll see you on the next one.